am so glad you are here. I thought I'd start off this entire podcast with likely the most important thing that I can say for a lot of you, maybe for you specifically who is watching and or listening right now. And that is we can overcome anxiety. We can overcome anxiety. I don't know if you need to hear that or not, but I know that someone does. And so I'm going to start off just saying that we can overcome anxiety. I believed when I was suffering from anxiety that it was forever and that it got worse. This was my reality. My reality was that it did keep getting worse and it did seem like it was forever. And so when a lot of us drink, we know that drinking stops the anxiety. That's why it's so good. But then we get sober and it's like how that you know what? I just swear. So I think I'm just going to have to let it rip right now. I almost censored myself from swearing, but they're just going to come out naturally like the F-bombs and stuff. So we get sober and it's like, how the fuck am I supposed to stay sober with all this anxiety? What am I supposed to do when I find myself on the floor in a panic attack? How am I supposed to get up and go to work when I can't even, I'm hyperventilating in the bathroom. I'm sitting there shaking my hands like this. What am I supposed to do when I'm having panic attacks at recovery meetings? Does it ever end? Will it ever end? Can it ever end? How can I keep staying sober despite all this incredible panic and fear and phobias and stuff? Yeah. It's a real concern that a lot of us have. And so I want you to know that if that's what you're finding yourself right now, if you are struggling with anxiety, if you're trying to stay sober and it's really difficult because you're having all the anxiety, or you're any phase, any journey, any part of your journey into sobriety and you're struggling with anxiety, I want you to know that you can get free. Freedom is available for you. 100% freedom is available for you. I don't know how much freedom is available for you. I don't know your history. I don't know your genes. I don't know your mindset. I don't know how much work you're willing to do. I don't know how courageous you're willing to be. I'm inviting you to be really courageous. I'm inviting you to have an open mind for a new experience. When we have the open mind that just maybe I can overcome my anxiety, that's when we crack open our minds in order to allow that new reality to become our experience. I had a client who was, I want to say, around 14 years sober when he came to me for anxiety. He didn't believe that he can get free because of his childhood, because of this, because of that, because of these stories that he had about why he was always going to be anxious. And it wasn't until I quite literally told him he was no longer allowed to tell me any stories about why he couldn't overcome anxiety. And in fact, I became super annoying about it because it's about a pattern interrupt, right? He was so convinced that he would, but he still hired me to help him as his coach. But he was still convinced at a very deep and visceral level that because of all of these reasons, because don't we all have reasons why we can't change? That we really believe, that maybe you think that are like the truth, but they're not, right? Of course you can change. Of course you can get free. Of course there's more freedom available for you. It's literally our nervous systems are like electrical wiring systems, right? We just got to change the electrical wiring system so that it can vibrate and fire and at a different frequency in a different way. And so I quite literally with him was super annoying. So anytime on our coaching call, when he would say, start off into a riff, just like a natural way that his brain worked of all these stories about why he was always going to be anxious, I would make a noise. It was so annoying. And I asked his permission first, right? Is it okay if I'm really annoying when you say a story? Because we're trying to get you out of the stories that you think that are true that aren't really true so that you can actually get free. And he's, yeah, I'm like, okay. I always believe in consent. Like a lot of my clients say that they've hired me because I'm like a no BS coach, but I always get permission, right? That's how I have permission to be more assertive when I'm working with people. And I'm also letting myself be more assertive right now here with you because your freedom's on the line. And I know that because I know that if you can change your mind, if you can open your mind to the possibility that maybe, just maybe, there's some freedom available for you, and that maybe that other people who got free are also just humans working with a human brain, a human mind, and that you also have one of those, and therefore it's possible for you too. So no matter where you're at in your journey right now with anxiety, with sobriety, or even with entrepreneurship, right? Because a lot of people here are going to want to have a business. Maybe you're here because you have these big dreams on your heart and your anxiety is what's stopping you. That was certainly my journey. So I always had anxiety, and it seemed like over the years it just got worse. I loved alcohol because it made the anxiety go away, but then it came back, right? Like the anxiety, like the next morning to have more anxiety after drinking. And so it was like this vicious cycle. So when I got sober, it was like I had this, I just didn't know that the anxiety ever could or would go away. It's not personal. It's not about you. There's nothing wrong with you. There is nothing broken in your head. There is nothing fundamentally flawed about you. There is no reason why you have to stay stuck in this electrical system, a way of being in your nervous system that you don't prefer. We can get free. And so it's not necessarily going to happen overnight, although there are changes that can happen really fast. It comes down to this. This is what I want to talk about, is it comes down to how you relate to your thoughts and how you relate to your feelings. Because what happens is we get on a thought feeling loop. This is how I thought about it. I didn't go this deep about it at first, right? I was just having anxiety attacks on the floor and I didn't know there was a way out. But so if we have an anxious thought or somehow something triggers our anxiety, then we start thinking anxious thoughts. I'm going to panic. I'm going to freak out. Oh, here it is again. Oh, I'm feeling anxious. Any sort of thought that produces anxious feelings. So then we have more anxious feelings. And then because we feel more anxious, we have more anxious thoughts and then more anxious feelings. So we end up on this anxiety thought feeling loop, this downward spiral of anxiety. And so the way that we get off, because that's what we want to do, we want to get off the downward spiral of anxiety. And that is absolutely possible. And it is in your control. It is in your power. And only you can do it for you. It's the good news and the bad news, right? This is your awakening. This is your journey. This is your trip to freedom. And if you want freedom, then all you have to do is become better at how you're using your consciousness, your awareness, your presence in the moment, what you're doing, literally, how you're relating to your mind and your thoughts and your feelings. And so my invitation with this podcast, with anything, with everything, is to cultivate like a very deliberate and conscious relationship with your thoughts and your feelings. Do not believe all your thoughts. They're not true. Just because these thoughts run through your head doesn't mean that they're true, right? I think the default mode is we just think that because we're thinking it, that these thoughts are true, right? But most of our thoughts are coming from other people. They're other people's beliefs. Let's not be down with OPB, right? Other people's beliefs. These thoughts are coming through our head. Okay, there's a thought, there's a thought, there's a thought, but they're not inherently true. In fact, most of our thoughts are not true, but left unexamined, we will believe them. And as we're thinking these thoughts and we're believing these thoughts, then we're feeling the feelings that go along with these thoughts, and we're taking ourselves to a very anxious place, which is not necessary. So the invitation here is to break that thought feeling loop. And here is a very easy way to do it. Because if you are even like remotely or even just a little bit as anxious as I was in early sobriety, I was having like an anxiety attack like almost every day. And so I needed to break that thought feeling loop. Here is an easy way. May I be at peace. Have a mantra. Repeat it. It is 5 words. I always do it on my fingers, right? I put my thumb up and I go through my fingers. May I be at peace. 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 The thing is, what is so brilliant about this simple phrase, by the way, this is from the Buddha. I did not make this up. I am borrowing this. It's from his meta loving kindness vibe it's a whole mood. I love it. And so when you are saying, may I be at peace. Now, even if you're not like particularly anxious, if you just have anything going on, any sort of stress, any sort of anything, may I be at peace is a game changer. And here's why. When you are saying deliberately something with your mind, a mantra, when you are putting words into your mind, you are consciously saying a phrase like, may I be at peace, there is no way for other thoughts to really be bombarding you that are going to trigger more anxious feelings. You are breaking that circle, that thought feeling loop that you have been on by adding in new thoughts. May I be at peace. So if you keep saying, may I be at peace, 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 may I be at peace. May I be at peace. May I be at peace. What's so interesting when I say it, I'm sitting here drinking a coffee, so I'm a little more activated, right? But when I'm saying that, I say it a couple of times, and then I naturally just start slowing down, and then because my mind starts to go into what I'm saying, and I'm like, yeah, I actually do want to be more at peace. I feel that desire for myself to be more at peace. So I'm just noticing right here live with you that as I'm saying that, my body just slows down, and I have that desire for myself. Now, look, I got sober in 2009, so it's been a hot minute since I was struggling with anxiety. But I'll tell you this, the first 2.5 years of my sobriety, I was super freaking anxious. And I was so anxious I couldn't meditate. Like my sponsor in recovery is like, meditate for 2 minutes a day. And my mind was racing so fast. There was no way that I could just like sit there and meditate. It was like a think-a-tate. It was all I could do to just not stand. So my rule for myself was I could look at the timer. I could look around. I could open my eyes. I could move. I just can't stand up. That was my rule. I just can't stand up. And so those were my meditations in the beginning, these 2-minute wild mind things. So meditating wasn't that easy in the beginning. It was just hard. And so what actually worked for me, because my mind was so active, my mind was racing really fast. I had so much anxiety that when I use a mantra, that was something I could do. Because when I was meditating, like air quotes, right? When I was meditating, I was more like thinkitating. I was more like anxiety racing minditating. And so when I had the mantra, I didn't have may I be at peace then, but it's a very simple one. And it actually is the one that I've taught my students for over a decade now to start with. May I be at peace. Because we actually do wish that for ourselves, especially if we're having that anxious moment. We wish for ourselves to be at peace. May I be at peace. And so when I used the mantra, I wasn't able to have all those anxious racing thoughts. And eventually, when you say the mantra enough, it's almost, and this comes with time, this doesn't happen right away. This comes with like months or years of practice. It's like our mind kind of transcends, right? So this is transcendental meditation. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that. I learned transcendental meditation when I was 6 months sober. I went to Mysore, India. My brain didn't work. I'll just be honest. I was a hot sober mess. And so my brain wasn't working at all. And so I decided to just use my body because I had the time. I was never going to get that time back. I didn't want to waste the time. And I think it's so important when we're experiencing a lot of adversity to consider, what's the opportunity now? What is this a great opportunity for? How can I best use this experience? Why is this happening for me? So if we can somehow flip the script on what's happening with us, happening to us, to happening for us. And so my body was working. So I decided to do like a yoga teacher training at 90 Days Sober. And then at 6 months sober, I went to Mysore, India. And while I was doing yoga there, yoga was like, I think my time at the Shala, this was Ashtanga at Patabi Joyce. And so my time at the Shala was like 4:30 in the morning or 5:30, whatever it was. I was basically done for the day with my yoga at 6:30 in the morning or something. So I had the whole day free. So I ended up going and finding these two gurus there that my new yogi friends told me about. And they taught me meditation, how to breathe, all of this. Basically, I just wanted to know how to calm my anxiety. I wanted to stop freaking out. So they taught me about deep breathing. I got certified like in advanced breathing and all the advanced meditation, like all these different things. They taught me all this stuff. But what was most helpful was the guru, the teacher there, who taught me transcendental meditation. That's where you have a specific mantra. And supposedly, I think that don't quote me on this, but I think there's 120 different possible mantras or whatever, and you tell them a bit of your life story, and they give you, it's like a prescription, they give you a mantra that's just for you. This might be just the ideology of it, right? I don't really know. I haven't looked into it super hardcore, but I still have never told anybody my mantra. So I had a mantra, it's 2 syllables, and that was what I used. So I did not use may I be at peace, but I recommend that. So I use this 2-syllable mantra, and I just said that all the time. I would sit there and meditate. And I found that when I had a mantra, that it really helped me find that more peaceful way of being. It slowed my mind down, and it wasn't right away. You think about the plane, right? So if there's a plane in California, and let's say the plane's in San Francisco and it's headed towards New York, if you just pull a little bit on that steering wheel or take it 1 degree off course, it might not end up in New York. It might end up in Florida or Canada or somewhere else. So just a little bit of going a little bit a different direction over time has huge benefits. So may I be at peace. May I be at peace. Something like that. If you just practice this every day, every time that you don't feel at peace, if you say to yourself, or every time you notice you have the anxious thoughts, if you start saying something like, may I be at peace, it's a game changer. It's a game changer. And so I just really wanted you to know that yes, you have these big dreams on your heart. You want to help people. You want to give back. You want to, maybe you have a message you want to share with the world. You want to start a business. You want to, whatever your dreams are, right? You want to have a family. You want to travel the world. But anxiety is what's getting in the way and you're freaking out about it. You know what? There is a way through. There is a pathway through. And it isn't just going to happen on its own. Some of the anxiety does go away on its own. That's my experience personally and as a teacher, right? Some of it does go away because when we get sober, we're dealing with post-acute withdrawal syndrome. Our system is going to go through this like homeostasis journey, right? Where it's going to come down to a new baseline. And so our arousal levels, right? Our stress levels, all the chemicals inside us, we are going to settle without alcohol in our system. We are going to evolve. We're going to adjust. There's a period in the beginning, especially me, I was on benzos, right? So I got off benzos in rehab when I went to rehab in 2009. And so I got off alcohol and benzos at the same time. So I had a bit of a journey just from getting off the benzos and the alcohol. I had a bunch of unaddressed trauma from childhood. Plus I had zero or little ability and skill to be with all of my emotional dysregulation. It was difficult. Plus I'm sober. And when you get sober, it's a whole new life, right? So you're going through everything sober. So that means you're probably making new friends. You're probably, maybe public speaking is a part of your life, or it's going to be, and that's freaking you out, or putting yourself out there, showing up, even if it's speaking in a recovery meeting, or maybe it's in your business or whatever it is, placing boundaries or not placing boundaries and dealing with those consequences, changing your whole life, finding out who you are and why you're here. There's a lot going on when we get sober. Maybe you're even moving, right? Because maybe the environment that you were living in before wasn't suitable for sobriety. So there's so many changes that we go through that on their own, even without getting sober, would cause anxiety. So there's a lot going on. Are you here looking for the secret? The secret is not that I just dropped my microphone on the ground and it got dirty. I mean the secret to stopping early sobriety anxiety, to feeling comfortable in your skin sober, to feeling confident at work when you get sober and you're wondering, where the hell did my confidence go? And you want to be courageous in life. If you're looking for the secrets, then come check out the free mini course, The Secret to Feeling Comfy, Confident, and Courageous in Sober Skin at sobrietybestie.com/YouTube. Do you hear that? I think there's another secret out here in the woods. Hello, hello, hello. It is possible to change. It is possible to overcome anxiety. And I truly believe, when I look back, I got sober in 2009 and I started sponsoring women in recovery in 2010. And I started a business helping women essentially with fear in 2012. And so that's when I started my life coaching business. And like sober, mostly sober women, but there was a lot of men that I've helped too. But mostly my biggest passion is to help people through fear, because fear is a mofo, right? Fear is what almost killed me. Fear and alcohol almost killed me. Fear is really what gets the best of us. Fear is what steals our life. Fear is what blocks our dreams. Fear is something to master. It's not something to be mastered by. That's how I see it now. And when I look back at all the people that I've helped in my business or in like the recovery community over the years, I think the most valuable thing the thing that I'm the most proud of is when I have, and sometimes more aggressively, like with that beep, right? If you're going to tell me a story about why it's different for you and why it's not possible for you to overcome anxiety. Not true. Not true. Don't believe the lies. Don't believe the lies your brain's telling you. It's a good story, but it's not true. This is fiction. And that's what I think I'm the most proud of, is the times that I have really taken a stand. You're making some like tears come to my eyes. When I've taken a stand for my clients or students and I just like called bullshit on the stories they were telling themselves about why it was different for them. Why? Because of their past or their childhood or whatever that was going on with them, or their neurology or whatever reason. Why I've called bullshit on why it's not possible for them to change, to the point where they actually got to change. And then for them to come to me and say that, you know, what you did for me is you made me believe that it was possible, that maybe I could get free too, and now I'm free. That's what I'm the most like proud of in my own work, is convincing people to stop believe the bullshit that they can't get free, that anxiety is forever. It's not forever. Maybe it has been your identity. It doesn't have to be your identity. You get to choose who you want to become. In a lot of ways, there's a lot of freedom in choosing who you get to become. There's some limitations, right? But the way that I look at anxiety now is that we are always going to have it. So when I say we get free from anxiety, I don't mean that anxiety goes away. I mean the overwhelming anxiety, the anxiety attacks. Like, I have not had an anxiety attack since 2012. That was a long time ago, right? Over a decade ago. And so the overwhelming anxiety, the intense anxiety, the debilitating anxiety, that is not permanent. Anxiety in general is. We're going to always have all the feelings. We are humans. That's part of the human experience. So for me, when I say anxiety can go away and we can't overcome anxiety, I'm talking about on a scale of 1 to 10. Like, I used to live on a scale of 1 to 10. I used to live, God, it brings so much emotion up. I used to live at 500. I used to wake up in a full-blown anxiety attack, staring at the ceiling. Oh, fuck. And this was especially before I got sober, I just wake up in a panic attack. And I'd be thinking like, let's just get real for a minute here. I'd be thinking, I don't even know if I have any alcohol left. I cannot cope with life right now with this much anxiety in my system. I'm past through the roof. I am like out into the galaxy. My anxiety is so big. And so at the very end of my drinking, like in 2009, if I had alcohol left in the morning, I would certainly drink it. I would have a drink in order to calm that anxiety down. Like, I never wanted to drink in the morning or alone, but I was drinking alone in the morning at the end. It was self-medication. Alcohol made the anxiety go away. But then, as we all know, alcohol makes the anxiety worse. So we're in this negative, like this spiral that leads to a literal hell, a literal living hell. And we can break free from all of that. So if you're in that right now, if you are chasing your anxiety with alcohol, there is a way out. And for me, I had to get sober. There was no way that I could reduce my drinking. I didn't have a desire to reduce my drinking. Like my psychiatrist back then, he gave me a book like How to Control Your Drinking. And I'm like, I don't want just one drink though. So there was no way for me I had to get sober. And it wasn't that I even so much chose sobriety. Like when I'm honestly thinking about it, it's not like I want to get sober. I chose to live. I was dying and I chose to live. And the only way to live was to get sober. It wasn't like I wanted to be sober or I wanted to be in recovery or I wanted to be more healthy. That's not what really was happening. It was I had a moment where I realized I was dying and it terrified me. And I'll tell that story another time. But a week later is when I ended up in rehab. And that was September 29th, 2009. That's my sobriety date. And my anxiety, yeah, it still went on for about 2.5 years because I didn't have all the tools. In 2009, we were still in the dark ages of mental health. Nobody talked about sobriety online as if it was something to be proud of. Instagram hadn't been invented yet. Social media wasn't what it is now. I think some of us were still on MySpace back then. I think Friendster might have been gone, but this is like the cave days in a way of mental health. So nobody was talking about anxiety. I didn't talk about sobriety on the internet until I was 5 years sober. On my 5-year sobriety birthday in 2014 is the first time I said on the internet that I was sober. It's also when I first said that I had anxiety. I didn't even feel comfortable saying that I had anxiety on the internet until I moved overseas. I moved overseas June 21st. You'll notice that I really remember numbers up here. My mind likes numbers. So I moved, and that's also the solstice, right? Summer solstice. So I moved on summer solstice 2014. I moved to Bali, Indonesia. And it was at the airport. I had a layover on the way to Bali. And at that layover on my way to Bali, I felt like some freedom to be a little more honest because I know it's hard to be vulnerable, isn't it? It's hard to tell the truth, especially when you've never really told those stories before. You've never really been honest about some of the stuff that you have shame around. So if that's what you're feeling right now, you're afraid to say you're sober or you're afraid to talk about your anxiety or you're afraid of some of your insecurities, that's all of us, right? That's like the human experience. And so I felt this kind of freedom to talk about anxiety. And remember, this is 2014. People were not talking about it then. Afterwards, there was all these like sobriety is sexy, like all these kind of slogans I saw on Instagram. Nobody had that was way before that slogan came around. And I don't think of it as sexy or not sexy. That's not really how I think about sobriety. I think about sobriety for me is it was mandatory. It was if I'm going to live, I have to be sober. And so when I was on that layover, when I was moving to Bali, I felt free to talk, to be honest. I felt like I no longer live in America. I don't have to like worry about the constraints of the culture that I'm from. I'm moving to another culture. And so I can be even more honest. And if you judge me, that's fine. That's you. And if you don't like me because I tell the truth, then you can just like, I don't know, leave me alone, go away, not follow me or not be a part of my life or not be a part of my online community or whatever. Not like I really had an online community then, but I had started a Bali blog and I wanted to tell the truth because it hits me so deep. Because I struggled for so fucking long with anxiety, I really wanted people to know that you can get free. Because I didn't know it back then. I did not know it when I would be like panicking back and forth in the bathroom, shaking my hands, hyperventilating. I never knew there was a way out. I never knew that there was something besides alcohol that could stop and would stop the anxiety. I never knew that. So I felt like even though I'm so scared to tell the truth, like there are people who are suffering the way that I was and I have to find a way to do it. So I'm at this airport lounge. Ooh. It chokes me up. So I was at the airport lounge. I write a blog, and the blog is, I used to have anxiety. Here's what I did to get out or whatever. And so I felt more comfortable talking about it. And so throughout this podcast, I will be sharing more strategies and tips and things. I don't want to overwhelm you. I gave you May I Be at Peace today. That's a great practice. I think just slowly adopting new practices into our life is the way to do it, especially if you feel overwhelmed. You don't need like 20 tips right now, right? Just take one. You got one practice. If this podcast is speaking to you, may I be at peace. May I be at peace. You know what I mean? If just keep it simple. Just keep it really simple. And the more that here's the basic thing, right? If we keep doing what we've always been doing, we're going to keep getting what we've always been getting. So we have to do something new for a new experience. If we want to change our lives, we have to change something. The best thing to change is our relationship with our thoughts and our feelings. That's my belief system. That's how I think about it. I think the best way to change your life is to change your relationship with your thoughts and to your relationship with your feelings. Do not believe, here's the cliff notes, do not believe all the thoughts that are blowing through your mind. They're not true just because they're there. Do not allow your feelings that come in your body to dictate your life, right? Don't let them be in the driver's seat of your life. So if your life is a car, you want to be the one on the wheel. You want to be the one that's directing your life and steering the wheel. Your feelings are allowed. They can be in the back of the bus. That's fine. Anger can be there. Anxiety can be there. Guilt can be there. Shame, whatever. You're allowed to have all your feelings. But if you let anxiety get into the driver's seat of your life, it's going to get really small, isn't it? When anxiety makes the decisions for you, when fear makes the decisions for you, grab the wheel from anxiety, grab the wheel from fear, and start to have that new relationship with your thoughts and your feelings by repeating your mantra, may I be at peace. 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 You do have the power to change your life. You are able to change your relationship with your thoughts and your feelings. It might not happen overnight. It didn't happen overnight for me, but it will happen with your conscious and deliberate choice. You can choose to have a new life. You can choose to think new thoughts. You can choose to relate in a new way to your feelings where you don't let them drive you, where they don't have to control your entire life, right? Your feelings are not bad. They're not wrong. They are there when we learn how to let them be there. This is like one of my favorite things to teach, right? When we have that new relationship with our feelings, it's really emotional sobriety in a way. And the way that I look at it, emotional sobriety is when we are sober with our emotions, when we allow our emotions to be as they are. They are not driving us. We are not afraid of them. We are not numbing them out. We are not scared of them. We are not throwing alcohol on them. We are not putting cigarettes over them. We are not dating over them, swiping left and right, Netflixing over them. That we can take the edge off a little bit in some ways. We're not trying to be perfect up in here, right? But when we can learn how to let our feelings be as they are and process them, express them one at a time, it's really not that big of a deal. It feels like it when you don't know how. I'm here to teach you how. And so I'm here to help you feel more comfortable in your skin. That was like my biggest wish in sobriety, was like I wanted the anxiety attacks to stop and I wanted to feel more comfortable in my skin. And so if that's where you're at right now, there is a way out, there is a path out, and it just starts with simple action. We start with new thoughts, and new relationship with our feelings. The new thought for the day is, may I be at peace. May I be at peace. May I be at peace. And that's my greatest wish for you right today, here, right now, especially if you're listening this far, for you to be at peace, for you to have more moments of peace inside your day. I really appreciate you being here, and there is so much freedom available for you. The reason why they say that sobriety can be like a life beyond our wildest dreams, that's how I look at it, is because literally my wildest dreams have come true. And we can't even fathom how, dare I say, good it can get in sobriety. And by good, by life beyond my wildest dreams is not having anxiety attacks. That is beyond my wildest dreams, to not have anxiety attacks for over a decade. It's been over a decade. It was 2012. It was a hot minute ago, right? To have overcome my phobias. We haven't even gone there yet. Public speaking phobia, huge phobia, limited my life. I changed majors in college to avoid public speaking. Driving phobia, did not drive on a freeway for 3.5 years. So I have overcome all my phobias in sobriety. I have overcome my anxiety disorders in sobriety. I have not had anxiety attacks. These things are all beyond my wildest dreams. Okay, so I had other wild dreams too, like I wanted to move to an island, right? And told you that I did, right, in 2014. But truly the wildest dreams that have come true for me in sobriety, the biggest wild dream that has come true for me in sobriety, is that I've changed my relationship with fear and therefore anxiety. That the anxiety is gone. That I overcame my anxiety. And that I've witnessed so many students and clients of mine over the more than decade plus that I've been in business overcome their anxiety. I have 100% certainty, without a doubt, clarity and belief and conviction that it is possible for you too, that you can overcome your anxiety. It is on offer for you. We are humans with a nervous system. It's an electrical system. Think about it like an electrical system. It's not personal. It doesn't mean anything about you or your worthiness or your value as a human or how it's always going to be. It might be how it's always been, but that doesn't mean that's how it always has to be. It's an electrical system that with some tuning, with some work, it can have a new experience of life. 100% believe that. So if there's anything that you take from this podcast today, it's that there is freedom available for you. And I'm so excited to find out how much, right? Isn't that so exciting to find out how much freedom is available for you? And you just start very simply. May I be at peace? May I be at peace? May I be at peace? All right, peace out. May you be at peace. Have a beautiful day. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, like it, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a beautiful day.